Come on, y'all. 110 years because his brakes went out. This man got 110 years in prison. He wasn't drunk. He wasn't high, any of that. 4 people did die. All he really did wrong was he panicked once he figured out that his brakes were out, and he did not follow the rules of the road for like the truckers on what he should do. He didn't follow that. Instead, he did end up crashing into 4 people. I don't think this man deserves 110 years in prison. You got pedophiles, you got rapists, you got murderers. These people getting 2 years. You got pedophiles getting 2 years. People that murdered people getting 10 years. This man got 110 years. He's supposed to be set to be in prison for the rest of his life for making a driving error. Yes, people passed away. I apologize on that. My heart goes out to them and their families. But this man should not get 110 years in prison because his brakes went out. Get in the comment section. Let me know what you think. We're going to get into the video. Come on, y'all. 110 years because your brakes went out? Truck drivers. Hey, people, please watch this. Please, please, please. And sign the petition. Let's get into the video.
A loved one unexpectedly and having to sum up the meaning of that loss in a brief statement, or speaking in support of a loved one before he's sentenced to 110 years in prison. That is what happened inside of a Jefferson County courtroom this afternoon. 110 years, that was the mandatory minimum sentence that a judge could have handed out to Rahel Aguilera Mederos, and that's what happened today. The judge, though, did say if it was he had his discretion, it would have been a lesser sentence. On April 25th, 2019, Aguilera Mederos was driving a semi on I-70 when his brakes went out. He drove past a runaway truck ramp and he slammed into cars that were stopped in traffic. 4 people died that day: Doyle Harrison, William Bailey, Miguel Angel Lamas Arellano, and Stanley Politano. Their loved ones spoke to the court this afternoon. Gage Evans said of losing her husband, William Bailey, she feels like a table without a leg or a boat without a rudder. She says she struggles with her mental health now.
This is crazy, y'all.
Without the man who gave her confidence.
They gave this man 110 years. He wasn't drunk. He wasn't high.
She says that she feels
he just lost his brakes and just made some driving errors afterwards. And he getting 110 years for this?
I'm doing harder for this, my heart towards the defendant. I do have a willingness to forgive them, but forgiveness doesn't mean just letting someone off the hook.
Yo, we got rapists and murderers out here that get 8 years, 10 years.
I have no thoughts about hurting anybody in my entire life. I'm begging for forgiveness.
Oh man, this shit is heartbreaking, man. Let that dude off.
The attorney for the defendant may have put it best today. You know, it was an emotional day. The attorney said that there were no winners, Tom, and he said it was just a courtroom full of broken lives. And sitting
man, we got some weird laws out here,
listening to testimony, both from the defendant's family in support of him and talking about the life that he lived and asking the judge to give him a lesser sentence, and then hearing all the family members who lost loved ones. It was just heart-wrenching to hear from both sides of the courtroom. And again, that attorney putting it, I think, best, saying that it really was just a courtroom full of broken lives today.
That's how long a 26-year-old was sentenced today for an accident and a crash that led to a fire on I-70 in 2019. 4 people died. Rahel Aguilera Mederos was driving a semi-truck when it slammed and stopped into traffic in Lakewood. A jury found him guilty of 27 counts, including assault and vehicular manslaughter.
And the argument from family members and the prosecution was never that he intended to kill people that day, but that he made too many reckless mistakes. Here's 9 News reporter Katie Eastman.
Courtroom 130 was a tough place to be for 2.5 hours on Monday afternoon. The mother of Rahel Aguilera Mederos cried out as the truck driver entered to begin his sentencing hearing.
These families have a hole in a place that's empty now.
Inside this room, heartbreak in every corner from the families of 4 people who were killed when Aguilera Mederos lost control of the semi he was driving and crashed into traffic in April 2019.
Man, his brakes went out,
Miguel
man.
Arellano, Bill Bailey, Doyle Harrison.
His brakes went out. and the man get 110 years.
My dad for the rest of my life, but I hope that the defendant's son can have his dad for the rest of his life.
And it is exhausting to actually make the decision to stay alive every day.
The decision to stay alive.
I take the responsibility, but it wasn't intentional.
Aguilera Mederos said he didn't understand why God made the decision to keep him alive.
I would have preferred God taking me instead of that, because this is no life.
People in this room spoke of life and loss, even forgiveness.
I'm not angry at you.
His brakes went out. He get 110 years.
And if I had the discretion, it would not be my sentence.
The sentence puts Aguilera Mederos in prison for the rest of his life. Courtroom 130 was a tough place to be on Monday, but the hearts inside it will stay broken long after leaving. Katie Eastman, 9 News.
Tied when it came to sentencing because Colorado's violent crime statute is specific. 9 News legal expert Scott Robinson says certain violent crimes require a minimum sentence for each victim, and they have to run consecutively, one after the other. Of the 27 counts the jury found guilty of, a judge said 16 of them had to be sentenced consecutively. But Robinson says there is one way for violent crime sentences to be reduced. It just won't happen anytime soon.
It's terrible.
Colorado's violent crime statute gives judges some discretion after 100.
Come on, man. His brakes went out. Okay, he turned the wrong way or went into these cars. He wasn't drunk. His brakes went out.
Which would justify a reduction in the sentences imposed.
The judge gave an indication he would consider a motion like that down the road.
Come on.
He said,
for a truck driver sentenced to 110 years in prison for a fiery crash that killed 4 people along I-70. Rohel Aguilera Mederos was found guilty by a jury and sentenced this week in Jefferson County District Court.
So that sentence has some people very upset. CBS 4's Rick Salinger covered this case since that crash happened in 2019 and now reports on the efforts to lessen his sentence.
Yeah, man. Get that man a lesser sentence.
The attorney for the truck driver says there will be an appeal, but it won't be based on that 110-year sentence. Instead, it will be about any errors that might have occurred during the trial. But still, that sentence is raising more than just eyebrows. For those who drive the big rigs, what happened in Colorado this week is startling. 110 years in prison for Rohel Aguilera Mederos in the fiery 2019 crash that occurred after losing his brakes.
It's unbelievable, honestly, because it could happen anytime, anywhere. And if the brakes fail, the brakes fail. It's a malfunction. 4
people were killed. The truck driver convicted of vehicular homicide, assault, and recklessness, bypassing a runaway truck ramp and swerving into stopped traffic on I-70.
I'm begging for forgiveness.
His attorney told CBS 4 there will be an appeal. An online petition on change.org has around 2 million signatures now calling for clemency or commutation of the sentence.
Yeah, man, let my man off, man. Please let this man off. Do not let him serve 110 years in jail.
Not all the victims of the
CA subscribers, please, please sign this petition for me, man.
The truck driver now left to bear the brunt of what happened.
The loss of life is sad regardless, but 110 years, that seems a bit much.
Truckers like him who pass by on I-70 may not notice, but there's a small memorial to this very major crash. The attorney for the truck driver says the law does not differentiate between negligent acts, like occurred in this case, and someone who might go out and plan and carry out a mass shooting. Along I-70,